FORA.tv. The world is thinking.
An additional point that what we're seeing, and Andy Cherlin and others have written about this, that we're seeing a two-tiered family structure, two tiers of family life, if you will, in the United States. Middle class and upper, middle and upper middle class couples are largely not having children before marriage. They are largely marrying and then having children, and their divorce rates have gone down. The divorce rates for middle class Americans have dropped in the last 15 years. Lower social class people in the United States are experiencing very high levels of non-marital births, and their divorce rates have not apparently dropped. It's not clear they're up from the peak in 1980, but they have not dropped. So a lot of the churning that Andy talked about is occurring among people who are in social classes lower than middle class in this country. And what we're having at a cultural level, which is concerning to me, and I think that academics have contributed to this in terms of our understandable efforts not to stigmatize single parents, not to glorify romanticized marriage. But what we're having at a cultural level is a disaggregation, a pulling apart of marriage and parenthood. The movie stars, the baby mama, baby daddy, now that the movie stars and very prestigious people, by the way, who have day nannies, night nannies, and weekend nannies. These are high resource people, at least in terms of material resources. We have a cultural lionizing, if you will, of the disaggregation of marriage and parenthood. And among low-income couples across racial and ethnic groups, the parenthood is coming before marriage. Now you might say, well, you know, what's the problem with that? I could imagine a society where perhaps it wasn't a problem, but what's happening in our society is that parents are having children in unstable relationships. They're not this sort of the couples who ideologically think that marriage is overplayed, and I mean, I have friends who have decided they will never marry because they don't believe in the institution, but they act like they're married. Their kids kind of tease them about why they're not getting married. So I'm not talking about the marriage license. I'm talking, as Andy said, about the stability and the permanent commitment of the relationship. And what's happening is that couples are having, particularly low-income couples, who do not see marriage prospects in their near future, are having children in romantic relationships. These are not usually one-night stands. They're serious romantic relationships. But they are relationships in which there is not a projection of a long-term future, and which, on large part, break up. And then, as Andy said, there is this churning of increasing relationships that both the mother and the father have, and the formation of incredibly complex families. Because you have her kids and his kids and their kids, and often a lot of material challenges, a lot of economic challenges, and the combination of the income and job and other sorts of challenges, very complex relationships, and a lack of preparation of these couples for how to sustain an intimate relationship in raising children. So let me briefly mention a couple of projects I'm involved with. I'm both a therapist, but increasingly I apply community organizing strategies in working with families. So one of my projects is called the Family Formation Project, and we're learning how mostly low-income urban couples who are romantically involved at the time the child is born, these are the so-called fragile families, we're learning how, we're not just studying them to see how they fall off the cliff and what the predictors are. That's what we often do as social scientists. We know a lot about risk factors. We're actually working with them. We're having mentor couples from the community work with them. We're assigning relationship coaches. We're working with these couples for a year and sometimes 2 years. And we're learning what it's like on the ground for these couples who aspire. They come to our project because they aspire to forming a stable union to raise their child. And what we've learned is that many of them have no role models. There are many couples in our projects who do not know a single successful long-term couple. They don't know it. Okay? And then when the times get tough in their relationship, there's what they're often told is walk. They just don't have. So marriage is something that is an ideal for them, but they simply don't see it in their lives, and they often don't have the interpersonal skills that it takes to form and sustain a lifelong marriage or other relationship. Then add in the fact that usually the kids are not just their children. There are baby mamas and baby daddies out there. There's child support payments. There's all this sort of stuff. And it's a miracle that any of them make it at all, as some do. The other project is newer, and it's called the Citizen Father Project. And I'm working with a group of low-income, mostly African-American fathers who have been in a father support program and these men have successfully reconnected with their children. They are learning to work cooperatively with the mothers of the children. They have gotten up to date on their child support. They're getting job help. And what I did was approach the staff about nominating about 5 men, or 10 men, excuse me, who are success stories in their project. And we've formed a project in which they are preparing to reach out to other men. Other fathers. And what they're saying is fatherhood can be learned, fathers are important, and the relationship with the mother is crucial. So I want to end with a story of one of the men named Damian, and he gives me permission to tell his story, because it ties some of these themes together. He's now living with the 4th mother of one of his children. And he's not proud of this, that he has these other relationships that have failed. He is re-engaged with those other women. He has apologized to them for how he treated them. And in his relationship now, he told me that one day he and his partner were having a big fight. And she said to him, "Why don't you just leave?" In anger, she said that. He said in the past that would have been his ticket out the door. But he now knows what the implications of that are for his child and for himself and for that relationship. And he said to her, "I'm not leaving. I'm going to work right now. When I come home, we're going to work this out." And indeed they did. So we need a culture shift. And it isn't just about promoting people just getting married, getting their certificate, but we need a culture shift for people to learn what it takes to form and sustain lasting unions when we're raising our children, or the churn is just going to continue.